Well, New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern announced her resignation suddenly today. Yeah. It was not expected because she had indicated as recently as Christmas time that she would run again. Here is her tearful announcement this afternoon.
And so today I'm announcing that I will not be seeking re-election, and that my term as Prime Minister will conclude no later than the 7th of February.
Now, anyone who's ever spoken over tears, it's clear she does not want to say that.
Of course, she's being fired. She's being pushed out.
She pauses there like, do I really have to do this? I really find that a haunting piece of video because not that I have a lot of empathy, because I don't agree with a lot of her leadership, but I do have empathy just as a woman and as someone who is a professional and seen something that you worked for slipping away from you. It's clear there's more to it, and we just don't know what that is right now, but we're going to try and surmise. This means that an election within her party for her replacement will be held this Sunday, and a general election will be held in October. Now, we've talked about Ardern before. She was a Western media darling. There was a name for it even when she took office. It was Jacinda Mania. Here she is in Vogue in 2018. You know, when you're in Vogue, you are a beloved media darling, right?
Yeah, like is Elena Zelenska, the whole Vogue photo shoots.
Yes, absolutely. Here she is. She's being presented as the anti-Trump of New Zealand. I'm not sure what that means. Like, was there a Trump of New Zealand?
So she's the anti-Trump of New Zealand. She got rid of newspapers, media that she didn't like, basically opposition. She's basically like the Zelensky of New Zealand. That's really what she is.
I think. Okay, I see where you're going. This is like an SAT question. I'm gonna take you one further there, and I think what the internet likes to say is that she is the Justin Trudeau.
Okay,
that's what I was just gonna say. Yeah,
she's the Justin Trudeau of New Zealand.
And
how about this? She is Jacinda Arden. She is a vile world leader of New Zealand. Like she is her own brand. She is a protege of Klaus Schwab. She is her own brand of disgusting.
Yes, this. I like to bring up this. It's a satire Twitter account called Justin Trudeau's Ego. And today he was posting about we had a lovely time, we had a good run, as if they are bedfellows. I'm going to explain this in detail as we go through her history of her administration. Now, why is she doing this? She gives us a buffet of reasons that politicians usually give, like time with my family, personal life, reflection. I'm going to show you that in a minute. But she also warns us not to read too much into this. There's not anything more. There's no ulterior motive. Watch.
I know there will be much discussion in the aftermath of this decision as to what the so-called real reason was. I can tell you that what I'm sharing today is it. The only interesting angle that you will find is that after going on 6 years of some big challenges, I am human. Politicians are human. We give all that we can for as long as we can, and then it's time. And for me, it's time.
And I just can't buy that. Because why now in January? Why not play out your term? Here is her tried and true time with my family routine.
I intend to remain a member for Mount Albert through till April. This will give me a bit of time in the electorate before I depart, and also spare them and the country a by-election. Beyond that, I have no plan. No next steps. All I know is that whatever I do, I will try and find ways to keep working for New Zealand, and that I'm looking forward to spending time with my family once again. Arguably, they're the ones that have sacrificed the most out of all of us. And so to Neve, Mum is looking forward to being there when you start school this year. And to Clark, let's finally get married.
Now,
it is funny, as someone pointed out in the chat, the the document that was leaked to journalists. And so there's going to be a lot of questions. Like suddenly after this, and Roger Stone reporting on this, but like suddenly this gets leaked and suddenly there's this resignation.
Yes. We don't know exactly what that is. There's still, it's out in the ether. One user on Twitter pointed this out, that the BBC is playing out this angle. Can women have it all? Can you see the little, the little bullet point there? Can women have it all? I think that is a bit of a red herring to make you look away from her actual track record, to look to the fact that she was a woman, she has a baby, she wants to. Now, I was not able to find this subtext of the current article, so I'm thinking that BBC took it down after they realized that is unsavory, because we don't ask that question about men. Mm-hmm. They have both family and life and careers.
Yeah.
So let's deal with her as a politician. She is a globalist who leaned toward dictatorship. She is no friend of women's rights or free speech. She is guilty of climatism that punishes the most vulnerable populations, and she was a poster child for authoritarian COVIDism. Let's just revisit these things one by one, shall we? During the pandemic, she declared strict lockdowns after only one COVID case. She was lauded in the press for making no apologies at getting New Zealand to zero COVID for a little while. Anyway, here's the BBC crediting her with the success of New Zealand. Regarding free speech, she's against it. Her government launched the Tell on Your Neighbor program to report if you think people are guilty of being radicalized because they talk about any anti-government policies, such as COVID lockdowns or COVID mandates, vaccine mandates. It's called Know the Signs. Last year at an address to the United Nations, she said that online speech is a weapon and should be regulated like all weapons. Take a look.
After all, the face of war has changed. And with that, the weapons used. The tools used to challenge the statehood of others are hidden and more complex. Traditional combat, espionage, and the threat of nuclear weapons are now accompanied by cyber attacks, prolific disinformation, and manipulation of whole communities and societies. Now, as leaders, we have never treated the weapons of old in the same way as those that have emerged. And that's understandable. After all, a bullet takes a life. A bomb takes out a whole village. A lie online or from a podium does not. But what if that lie, told repeatedly and across many platforms, prompts, inspires, or motivates others to take up arms, to threaten the security of others, to turn a blind eye to atrocities, or worse, to become complicit in them? What then? This is no longer a hypothetical. The weapons of war have changed. They are upon us and require the same level of action and activity that we put into the weapons of old.
Weapons. What are weapons?
Well, that speech belongs this week at Davos.
Yeah, would have fit in perfectly.
Brian Stelter was wanting to ask her to repeat it. Now, in this speech, Ardern says that she supports giving more power to the World Health Organization to make global decisions like the ones that she made for her small island of New Zealand. Listen to her saying this.
And that's why on pandemic preparedness, we support efforts to develop a new global health legal instrument, strengthened international health regulations, and a strong and empowered World Health Organization.
No, I don't like the sound of that at all, but that's, again, what her brand of politics represents. Her government also went after farmers by proposing an emissions tax on them first in order to meet climate goals. In the Vogue article that I showed you earlier, she specifically said, I am going to take on farmers and I can't remember, but it was people, industry workers just like that to meet our climate goals. Now, her predecessor did try to implement carbon reductions in the early 2010s and failed. The climate laws that were passed actually increased emissions. So then Arden doubled down, and the projections are that New Zealand will still be at an increased climate emission. So here's how farmers took to that when this group Groundswell protested the climate laws that her administration was putting into place.
Why are they doing this? Well, really, it seems to be done so the Prime Minister and the Climate Change Minister can go and attend Me Too meetings around the world and stand on the podium and effectively say, mine's bigger than yours.
Mine's bigger than yours.
And it doesn't matter if the government process or the WEN partnership model was there. Putting millions into a fund for research sounds really good, but it's going to attract salaries. And the bit that comes out the bottom will probably be spent on research. We've already spent $200 billion so far on research and came up with virtually nothing, except the fact that we might be able to breed animals that are more efficient.
He's right about that. Again, I refer to Bjorn Lundberg's book about this. We've done a whole segment about this. I know that clip was very low, but he actually made quite a brilliant summary of all of this virtual signaling, is that, like, if I just create these big, ambitious climate goals, it makes me look good at the G20 summit, and I can high five other global leaders in a Me Too kind of way.
Right.
And, okay, so as long as we're going down this kind of like woke box ticking, here's another thing that happened in New Zealand under her reign, is that she is no friend of women's rights, in my opinion. She championed this transgender assigned male at birth athlete to represent New Zealand in women's weightlifting in the Olympics. This is Laurel Hubbard, who was a record-winning weightlifter when competing as a man, but then transitioned at the age in early 30s and began winning gold medals.
Now that's a woman.
Now, this was not necessarily Ardern's decision, but she defended it, and she further defended this ban on conversion therapy. Now, conversion therapy is a term that's, in my opinion, very misused right now to confuse the transhumanist agenda. Conversion therapy is a term used to change gay people's sexual orientation years and years ago, but it is not done in modern therapy, period. If it's done, it's illegal. People can be reported. This ban allows governments to apply it to therapists who want to help children with gender dysphoria accept their bodies and maybe avoid medical intervention, which hurts. It hurts a human body and has all kinds of contraindications. So they're calling it conversion therapy. If you say to somebody, oh, well, maybe we should explore this before, we do anything drastic that might hurt you, that's called conversion therapy. And I think that that's a really misleading use of that term. She should know better. She should know that this is a way in order to strip women's rights. This sort of believe children right out of the gate when they say they're dysphoric, and then place them and then destroy, single sex spaces. I don't understand why someone who's an intelligent person would go along with this, other than to just look like you are accepting of LGBTQ plus rights. When it's not that at all. I've talked many times about how trans rights are actually anti-gay rights and homophobic. And then finally, about the economy, she showed this tank your economy. She followed this idea of tank your economy with Russian sanctions formula in 2022. Here's her Instagram about it, saying, okay, here's our sanctions bill, right on target with the other Western nations. This had nothing to do with them. New Zealand's in the middle of an ocean. They didn't need to be dragged into this, but she jumped right in with her friends Trudeau and Biden and all the others. So, as I was going through this and thinking like, boy, this really is a checklist on how to be a globalist and how to tank a political career because you are box ticking woke policies that you think make you look a certain way and then end up actually hurting people. I put this together, this little summary. Globalist checklist. Okay. Introduce climate policies to brag about to other world leaders. Bonus if it harms the economy and the most vulnerable populations first.
Check.
Strip away free speech and enact laws to encourage citizens to spy on one another for wrongthink.
Check. She did that.
Unapologetic COVIDism.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Surely she did that.
Strip away women's rights in favor of transhumanism to award power to the biopharmaceutical complex.
Check. She's all over that.
Take sides in a war that's not yours. Copycat Western sanctions. Tank your own economy while so doing.
Check, check, check.
Yeah. Did I miss anything?
This is how you destroy your own country. So
This is like, you think it's good for you politically, and then it's not.
And it
You know what I
destroys
would
your own
like-
country and makes you into a global economy, and that's what you want. That's what they want. They don't want nation states. Go ahead, David.
I think they should take the timeline, see, and take your checklist and put it against Trudeau and put it against the ones they're still allowing to be in power and see which one she didn't abide by. And because it's like if Trudeau finally doesn't abide by one, we'll see his tear felt apology
Ooh, you're
retirement
talking about
letter or
like
whatever.
the dark list. That would be the dark list.
Yeah.
Like we got to work on the ultimate list. We got to figure out what the total list is when you compare it to everybody.
Yeah.
No, I like that. We'll go find and
Did
we
I
can probably
miss
figure out
anything, you
exactly
guys?
What she did.
When it comes to,
No, I think that's
I don't think so.
No.
I mean, these are the things that really make people uncomfortable with current world leaders.
I don't think I saw enough about gender on there though.
Well, women's rights is the bottom, the second from the bottom is.
Yeah, but I feel like there should have been a little bit more focus on misgendering people.
Oh, we also
Okay.
need surveillance. We need more surveillance on
Yeah.
this list.
Oh,
More-
yes. Yeah. But there's a little surveillance is encouraging citizens to spy, but yeah. And
surveillance
maybe
light.
even giving government the power to spy as well.
True.
And
They're calling it.
disinformation.
Uncle Tao in our
Misinformation.
chat says Trudeocracy.
Trudeocracy. Or
Trudeocracy.
also taking your money, taking your bank account, seizing your assets. That might be missing. I'm going to need a longer
Overreach,
screen. Yeah.
Thank you for your super chats on this. You use green tags to enrich private resorts.
There you go.
Yeah, there's a bunch. Thank you for that. Yeah,
Okay.
there's a lot of good ones in there. Yeah.
All right, we'll call this a high level. It's a start. So if you are intending to be a woke progressive leader and think those things will pan out for you, let this be a cautionary tale that it may not. And as a further cautionary tale, let's look at the current polls, which show Ardern's party, the Labour Party, tanking since last year, since last April of 2021. Her party is in the red. So, was this the writing on the wall for her? Maybe, but I'm still left with the question of why now? What's the other shoe to drop?
well, we'll find
another
out.
World Economic Forum position opening up for her, or
Yes, she's going to get a
I think
job
she'd
with
have been
Klaus
much more-
Schwab. She'll be doing like Brian Stelter panel hosting of the World Economic Forum.
Don't you think it would have been a happier resignation though had she gotten a better position? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
I mean,
she'd have
she's
been
forced out.
I got
She was
better
fired.
Things on the way.
She was fired, and it comes like 2 days after it was leaked that, of course, she was like, basically banning newspapers and media publications that didn't fit the narrative. So, like, what's going on here? We're gonna find out. But she's like, you're not gonna find out anything because there's nothing to find,
yeah, I mean, she basically told us don't go looking, which made me go looking.
right? And we're gonna look, and it'll come
I'm
out.
going to keep looking.
It'll come out. Thank you so much for watching this segment here at Redacted. We are live every day at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, trying to share the stories that the mainstream media will not cover. You should also come over and join our community of Redacted Rebels over at redacted.inc. That's our private locals community where we can share exclusive content that we simply cannot share here on YouTube. Come over and join the rebellion together right now by going to redacted.inc. We'll see you next time.